Joining me now for more on what all of this could mean for the region is Bilal Saab. He's an associate fellow for the Middle East and North Africa program at Chatham House, and retired Admiral James Stavridis. He is the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO and NBC News Chief International Analyst. And Admiral, I want to start with you. There are some analysts who said that Iran wanted to telegraph their strike to potentially give Israel time to prepare. So what do you make of how this attack unfolded, and especially Iran's statements before the strike?
I think it's accurate to say Iran wanted to conduct a strike in a way that was not going to create a massive escalation. So that means launching the drone wave first. That gave Israel hours of advance notice. There have been some reports that some back-channel communication was also used. And then ultimately, I think the idea here was for Iran to be able to turn internally, say to their people, hey, we responded to this strike by Israel of 10 days ago against their consulate in Damascus. But as the Iranians themselves said, we consider the matter closed. Unfortunately for Tehran, I don't think Jerusalem considers the matter closed. So here we sit awaiting what the Israeli response is going to be over the next few days.
And Bilal, as we wait, as the Admiral just said, for that response, I wonder, Bilal, if you could talk a little bit about the fact that Iran took this unprecedented step. But we wonder, what does it mean for how that country, Iran, could be viewing a potential for escalated conflict? And in particular, can they even really afford to be drawn into a direct war given their military capabilities here?
No, they can't. And it's not just a military issue as well. It's also economically speaking, they're in dire straits, obviously. They cannot afford to enter into a large-scale confrontation, not just with Israel, but potentially also with the United States. So those are two foes that are far more capable than Iran on its own. I agree with Jim 100%, and this is something I'm probably going to say multiple times throughout this conversation. The intent was not necessarily to significantly hurt. The intent was to send a cease and desist message to the Israelis, probably establish or restore some element of deterrence, even though that's always a debatable proposition. It's incredibly difficult to achieve that. And as Jim said, now we wait with bated breath how the Israelis are going to respond. And my hope is that it would be a coordinated response with the United States. In preference, they would also avoid escalation.
As you said, Iran maybe doesn't have the military capabilities for this direct war. But I wonder, when you look at this strike, Bilal, what did you learn? What did we as the world learn about their capabilities from this attack?
Yeah, great question. So everything that they've done was deliberate. I mean, when you look at how they violated a core principle of military operations, which is the element of surprise, right? So they telegraphed their intentions. They probably passed on information to Washington through Arab and European intermediaries that our strike is going to be limited. So when you telegraph your intentions like that, that tells you that they have no interest in, seeking escalation with the Israelis. But in terms of capabilities, Yamiche, it is easy to rush to the conclusion that the Iranians mounted a highly unsuccessful military attack. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. It takes some level of skill to lob this many missiles and fly this many drones with the intent of actually not killing and not hurting. So they demonstrated two things. One, precision. Two, range. And three, sufficient awareness of the strategic environment. And I think at all of these variables, put in a completely different context with the intent of actually hurting, could be quite detrimental for the Israelis next time around. They're not going to have enough time to prepare. They're not going to have enough time to respond should they mount an attack that would be intended to hurt as opposed to just send a message. So I would be wary of Iranian capabilities. I would not be rushing to the wrong conclusions here.
It's such an important point to make that they didn't want to hurt anybody, it seems, this time, but that they could possibly, with precision and range, do so in the future. So, Admiral, we are waiting to see what Israel's going to do here. What strikes you as the most obvious response for Israel here? And if the Biden administration is not going to participate, if they're saying no offensive strike is going to be part of the U.S.'s strategy here, does that limit Israel's options?
No, it doesn't particularly limit Israel's options. They have enormous military capability, much better than the Iranians do. They could use, for example, their F-35 fighters and go after the industrial facility where the drones were being built that were used against them. That would be, in one sense, proportional. They could go after Iranian maritime assets at sea. They could go after the Iranian economy using cyber. They could use special forces against a variety of topics. So I think they have a pretty rich basket of options they can pursue without Washington's assistance. The challenge for Israel is going to be that there's so much international pressure being put on Israel, first about its activities in Gaza. And if Israel does respond in a highly aggressive and offensive way at this point, they'll receive even more pressure coming from the G7, the Arab world, the global South, and others. So it's a tough position for Israel. If you ask me, what do I think they'll do? I think they'll kind of pick a middle path, not a big, massive assault, but they're not going to just sit back and do nothing. So I'd look for a combination of cyber, perhaps strikes against maritime targets that are not on the mainland of Iran, but not a big strike against industrial targets in Tehran. Look, we're going to know in a couple of days.
Yeah. Well, Admiral, if we don't expect any Washington assistance, is it possible that other allies of Israel, that they could be potentially involved in whatever their response is to Iran?
No. The only candidate to be part of a strike against Iran that I can see would be the United States. All the other partners to Israel are further distant from Israel than the United States. And certainly if the United States declines to be involved, I think it's highly unlikely you'd see any other nation participate.
And the one nation that we did see participate on Saturday, Bilal, was Jordan. Ralph Sanchez was talking about how significant it was that you had an Arab nation protecting Israel in this way. Talk to me a bit about the significance of that, given the history of these two countries and at times Jordan's harsh criticism of Israel's actions, specifically as it relates to Gaza and the humanitarian crisis there.
Well, Jordan also was looking to safeguard its own security interests. This is not just about protecting Israel. I mean, those projectiles were flying over Jordanian skies. And so first and foremost, it was about Jordanian security. Second, frankly, in my opinion, I hope I'm not wrong on this, more important than the protection of Israel was the effort to signal, to communicate to the United States that you can depend on us. We are a reliable partner. We understand that you are our #1 security partner, and therefore we have some kind of loyalty towards you. So at the end of the day, I don't think it was that controversial that the Jordanians participated and contributed military assets to down, threats over their own skies. But anything beyond that, frankly, that is more comprehensive, comes some, a joint effort to go after Iranian targets. I fully agree with Jim. I find that rather inconceivable.
Well, an issue and really a situation we're going to watch closely. So thank you, Admiral Stavridis and Bilal Saab.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.